The monarchy has survived wars, scandals, and betrayals, but this time the attack comes from within. And the person delivering the biggest blow? Carole Middleton. For years, she played the role expected of her, graceful, reserved, and never stepping too far into royal affairs. But behind the polished smiles and carefully staged family moments, a silent battle had been brewing, a power struggle that no one dared to speak of until now. Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla had always been on opposite sides of the royal hierarchy. One was a self-made woman rising through hard work and determination, while the other was born into aristocracy, mastering the art of palace politics. Camilla saw Carole as an outsider, someone who didn't belong in the world of crowns and centuries-old traditions, and for years Carole accepted her place in the background. She watched as decisions were made that pushed her family further from the royal inner circle. Invitations to key events became rarer. Royal traditions were adjusted in ways that subtly excluded her. Charities connected to the Middletons suddenly lost support. It wasn't a coincidence, it was calculated, and at the center of it was Queen Camilla. At first, Carole ignored it. She told herself it was just how the monarchy worked. But then she saw how it affected Kate. She saw the pressure, the impossible expectations, the way her daughter was constantly being tested. And that was when Carole realized this wasn't just about protocol, it was about control. And she wasn't about to let her family be erased from history. Then came the breaking point, a discovery so shocking, so dangerous, that it changed everything. Carole Middleton had found something buried deep beneath royal secrecy. She had proof that the monarchy wasn't just playing political games, they were hiding something far worse, and the person at the center of it? Queen Camilla. On a cold February morning, Carole Middleton stepped through the gates of Buckingham Palace. There was no media frenzy, no official announcement, just a quiet arrival, unnoticed by the public. But what does she carry with her that was about to send shockwaves through the monarchy? Inside the palace walls, where secrets were meant to be protected, Carole was about to do the unthinkable. She wasn't there for a polite conversation, she wasn't there to make peace. She had come with something explosive, something that would leave Queen Camilla utterly shattered. But what did Carole bring with her, and why did it shake the monarchy to its core? Carole Middleton didn't come to talk, she came armed with proof. And what she uncovered left even the most seasoned palace insiders in shock. For years, rumors of secret royal finances had circulated, but they were always dismissed as speculation. No one had ever come close to proving them. Until now, Carole Middleton had spent months gathering information, connecting the dots and following a trail of hidden transactions that led straight to Queen Camilla. It wasn't just about money, it was about deception, control, and betrayal that reached the highest levels of the monarchy. As she sat across from the palace's top officials, she laid out the evidence. Not vague accusations or gossip, but cold, hard facts. Bank records, financial statements, confidential documents. They showed millions of pounds quietly moving through secret accounts, hidden behind layers of offshore companies and Swiss bank meetings. The money wasn't part of the standard royal investments or trust funds. It was something else entirely, funds being transferred in ways that raised serious legal and ethical questions. And at the center of it all, Queen Camilla. The room went silent as Carole flipped through the pages, detailing exactly how the transactions had been disguised. Some transfers were labeled as private expenses, others as charitable donations, but in reality they were part of a much larger operation. Some of the money had been funneled through businesses with close royal ties, ensuring that the paper trail remained hidden. But Carole had found the cracks, the names, the dates, the connections that linked it all together. The implications were enormous. This wasn't just a case of financial mismanagement. If what Carole had uncovered was true, it meant that Camilla had been using her influence to shift royal wealth in ways that benefited a select few, at the expense of the institution itself. The monarchy was built on public trust. The idea was that they served the people, not themselves. If this information got out, it wouldn't just be a scandal, it would be a full-blown crisis. Inside the palace, chaos erupted. Lawyers were called in within minutes, their whispers growing more frantic with each new document revealed. Advisors rushed in and out of the room, making desperate phone calls, trying to contain the damage before it spread. Some officials left immediately, likely to warn whoever needed to be warned. But one person didn't move. Queen Camilla. Those who had known her for years had seen her handle intense media storms, relentless criticism, and decades of public scrutiny. She never flinched. But this was different. Witnesses said her face went pale, her normally composed expression slipping for just a moment. Carole hadn't just brought claims, she had brought proof. And it was proof that couldn't be ignored. The numbers were real, the transfers were real, and the consequences, they could be devastating. But this wasn't just about money, it was about power. And Carole was about to expose something even bigger. For years, the Middletons were slowly pushed out of royal life, but no one noticed, until now. It didn't happen all at once. There was no official announcement, no grand falling out. Instead, it was a slow, careful process, hidden beneath layers of royal protocol. At first, it was small things, subtle changes that didn't seem important on their own. Invitations that never arrived. Seating arrangements at royal events placed them farther and farther from the spotlight. Conversations that once included them now happened behind closed doors. But as time passed, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Events that the Middletons had once been a key part of were suddenly adjusted. Last-minute protocol shifts meant that Carole and her family found themselves excluded more often than not. It wasn't just about appearances, it was about influence. The Middletons weren't just in-laws, they were Kate's closest support system. A direct link between her and the life she had before the palace, and someone wanted that link severed. The royal family controls more than just public perception. Behind the scenes, their power reaches into finances, institutions, and even charities. Slowly, funding for organizations tied to the Middletons began to disappear. Grants that had been promised were quietly revoked. Royal endorsements faded away. For these charities, losing royal backing wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a death sentence. And at the center of it all was Queen Camilla. She wasn't just a figurehead, she knew how to move things from the shadows, how to reshape the narrative without leaving fingerprints. Some insiders whispered that she saw the Middletons as a threat, an unwelcome presence in a system that thrived on control. The more Kate relied on her family, the less influence the palace had over her. And for Camilla, that was unacceptable. But Carole Middleton wasn't one to back down. She had watched this quiet erasure unfold for years, and now, with the truth coming to light, she was fighting back. She wasn't just defending her family, she was challenging the very way the monarchy operated. And then, just when things couldn't get worse, the news leaked to the public. In just 24 hours, the monarchy went from controlling the narrative to complete public humiliation. At first, the palace tried to keep the story contained. They had handled scandals before, burying them beneath carefully crafted statements and strategic distractions. But this time, the truth moved too fast. Carole Middleton had done the unthinkable. She had exposed something the palace never wanted the world to see. And once the media caught wind of it, there was no turning back. Major news outlets seized the story, running headline after headline about the shocking financial dealings inside Buckingham Palace. It wasn't just a small controversy, it was a full-scale crisis. News anchors dissected every detail, experts speculated about the fallout, and royal commentators, some of whom had spent years defending the monarchy, suddenly found themselves asking difficult questions. Where was this money going? How deep did the corruption run? And most importantly, who else knew? The public reaction was instant and explosive. People who had spent years supporting the royal family began to question everything. Social media erupted with demands for answers. Was the monarchy truly serving the country, or had it been serving itself all along? Some refused to believe it, calling it a smear campaign. Others saw it as confirmation of long-held suspicions. But one thing was clear, the royal family was no longer untouchable. As financial analysts started digging, even more unsettling details surfaced. Suspicious bank transfers, offshore holdings, money moving in ways that didn't quite add up. Some of these transactions stretched back years, raising the possibility that this was not an isolated incident, but part of a larger, more deeply rooted system of financial manipulation. If Carole had uncovered this much, what else was hiding beneath the surface? Meanwhile, inside the palace, there was nothing but silence. And that silence spoke volumes. Queen Camilla, once a constant presence at public events, vanished overnight. No appearances, no statements, no damage control. The woman who had spent years crafting her public image, reshaping herself from scandal-ridden mistress to a respected royal, was nowhere to be seen, and her absence only fueled the speculation. Even those closest to her began stepping back. Powerful allies who once stood firmly by her side started distancing themselves, choosing to protect their reputations rather than risk sinking with her. Wealthy aristocrats, influential figures, and longtime supporters one by one fell away. Inside Buckingham Palace, a war was brewing, because while the world watched the scandal unfold, the real battle was only just beginning. Behind closed doors, alliances are shifting, and the palace is splitting apart. What once seemed like an unshakable institution is now teetering on the edge of collapse. The royal family has faced scandals before, but nothing like this. This time, the battle isn't just against public opinion, it's within their walls. Crisis meetings stretch late into the night, with advisors scrambling for a solution. Lawyers draft statements, hoping to control the narrative, but no one can agree on the right approach. Every move is a gamble. Every delay makes the damage worse. The pressure is mounting, and the cracks are widening. Inside the palace, the divide is growing. The younger staff, those who have worked closely with Kate, stand with Carole. They've seen the Middletons be pushed aside for years, and now they feel justice is finally being served. But the older, more traditional palace officials remain loyal to Camilla. To them, she represents the old ways, the hierarchy that has kept the monarchy intact for centuries. They refuse to believe that she could be at the center of such a scandal. To them, Carole is the enemy, an outsider who has gone too far. And then, there's Prince William. For years, he has walked the fine line between duty and personal loyalty. Now, that balance is slipping. He is torn between protecting the institution he was born into and standing by his wife and her family. He knows the truth. He understands the weight of the accusations, but making a public stand against Camilla means shaking the very foundation of the monarchy. The pressure on him is immense. His every move is being watched. His silence is being analyzed. No matter what he does, there will be consequences. Even King Charles, a man who has fought for decades to secure his reign, hesitates. Camilla is his wife, his closest confidant. He has defended her through some of the worst years of royal scrutiny. But this is different. He knows the public is watching, waiting for him to take action. If he stands by Camilla, he risks his credibility. If he distances himself, he risks losing the woman he fought so hard to be with. Either choice could be disastrous. And then, the realization sets in. Camilla, once untouchable, now stands completely alone. The support she once relied on is slipping away. The people who once protected her are now calculating their survival. The monarchy has always been a game of power, and now it seems the Queen is losing. And then, the monarchy delivers the ultimate betrayal to Queen Camilla. Camilla spent decades clawing her way to the top, but in just weeks, she lost everything. For years, she had been one of the most controversial figures in the royal family. She endured relentless public scrutiny, survived brutal headlines, and, slowly, piece by piece, rebuilt her image. But now, as the scandal raged and the palace scrambled to protect itself, she was no longer a queen at the height of her power. She was a liability, and in the world of royalty, liabilities are swiftly erased. The first sign of her downfall was her sudden disappearance from public duties. No official announcements were made, but the shift was clear. Invitations to key events no longer included her name. Charities she had championed were now represented by other royals. Public engagements where she had once stood front and center were quietly reassigned. Even inside Buckingham Palace, the changes were unmistakable. The seat she once occupied at state functions was moved. The staff, once eager to serve her, now kept their distance. Camilla wasn't just losing power, she was being erased. Outside the palace walls, the world was watching. The aristocrats and high society figures who once courted her favor began to distance themselves. The wealthy elite, always mindful of their reputations, knew better than to stand too close to a sinking ship. Invitations that once flooded her schedule dried up. Lavish weekend retreats in the English countryside no longer extended a place for her. The same people who had once whispered in admiration about her resilience now spoke in hushed tones about her downfall. And then, the press turned against her. For years, newspapers had carefully reshaped Camilla's image, from the other woman to a respected royal consort. But now, those same publications dug up old scandals, re-examining every moment of controversy. Photos from decades ago resurfaced. Private comments made behind closed doors were suddenly public knowledge. The glowing articles that once painted her as a devoted wife and a dignified queen were replaced with brutal headlines questioning her role in the monarchy's biggest scandal. Even her children felt the impact. Tom Parker Bowles, a well-known food critic, suddenly found himself without a column in one of the nation's most prominent newspapers. Laura Lopes, her daughter, watched as clients quietly pulled away from her art gallery, afraid of being associated with the scandal. Camilla's influence had once been enough to protect them, to secure their place in elite circles, but now her name was a risk no one wanted to take. And while Camilla faded into the background, someone else was rising to power. She was once seen as too common for the royal family, now she's leading it. When Kate Middleton first stepped into the royal world, she was viewed as an outsider. She wasn't born into aristocracy, she didn't grow up in palaces, and she had no royal bloodline. To some, she was simply a middle-class woman who had captured a prince's heart. But now, after years of quiet resilience, Kate is stepping into a new role, one that no one saw coming. As Queen Camilla fades from power, Kate isn't just filling the space left behind, she is reshaping the monarchy itself. Behind the scenes, her influence is growing. For years, she observed how things worked, the traditions, the politics, the subtle battles for control. But now, she isn't just watching, she is acting. She has begun to take on more responsibilities, working closely with senior advisors and playing a key role in major decisions. And people are taking notice. Insiders say King Charles himself is starting to rely on her input more than ever. He sees in her something that Camilla never had, the ability to connect with the modern world. She represents stability, dignity, and a fresh approach that the monarchy desperately needs. Meanwhile, in the public eye, Kate's image has never been stronger. While other members of the royal family are struggling under the weight of scandal, she stands apart, graceful, composed, and untouched by controversy. Her every appearance is carefully measured, her speeches are polished, she knows exactly how to appeal to the people, and more importantly, how to win their trust. The British public, once skeptical of her, now sees her as the future. She is no longer just the wife of a prince, she is a leader in her own right. And then there's Carole Middleton. Once dismissed as just another ambitious mother-in-law, she now holds quiet but undeniable influence over the future of the monarchy. Her instincts, her business mind, and her understanding of the modern world are qualities the palace once ignored. But now, they are shaping decisions at the highest level. She fought to protect her family, and in doing so, she helped rewrite the rules of the monarchy. But is this the monarchy's salvation, or just the beginning of an even bigger power shift? After centuries of aristocratic rule, is Britain's monarchy finally changing forever? The royal family has weathered wars, betrayals, and public scandals, but this crisis feels different. It's not just about a financial scandal or a personal feud, it's about control, influence, and the very foundation of the monarchy itself. With Queen Camilla sidelined and King Charles facing mounting pressure, one question looms over Buckingham Palace. Can the monarchy survive this storm? Kate Middleton is no longer just the wife of the future king, she is now at the center of the royal family's survival. With her growing influence in decision-making and her ability to connect with the public in a way no other royal can, many are asking, is she the true future of the British throne? She embodies modern royalty, graceful, disciplined, and scandal-free. In a world where the monarchy's relevance is constantly questioned, Kate represents stability. And behind her, there's Carole Middleton, a woman who once had no place in royal circles, but now holds an undeniable influence over the institution. The traditions that once kept commoners like the Middletons at arm's length are beginning to crack. Could Carole's impact continue to reshape how the monarchy operates? Meanwhile, Camilla's fate remains uncertain. Will she attempt to reclaim her place in the public eye, hoping for redemption? Or will she fade into the background, retreating into private life as the weight of scandal proves too much to overcome? Her absence from royal duties has already sent a clear message. Her influence is no longer what it once was. The very people who once lifted her to power are now turning their back. A quiet exile may be the only option left. But this isn't just a personal battle between two women, or even a fight between two royal families. This is about the future of the British crown. The monarchy is evolving, whether the institution is ready or not. The rules that once protected the aristocracy are shifting, and the power dynamics inside Buckingham Palace may never be the same. And as the dust settles, one thing is clear: history is being rewritten before our very eyes. What do you think? Is this the end of Queen Camilla's reign, or will she fight back? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more royal deep dives. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next.